So in this video I'm going to replace the thermostat on the Classic Mini. Previously I've replaced the water pump and refurbished the radiator, but unfortunately that resulted in zero circulation of coolant around the engine, so there's an issue somewhere else. So I'm going to replace the thermostat. I purposely didn't replace it previously because I was just very frightened of snapping those head studs into the cylinder head, but I'm now having to grasp the nettle because I've not got any circulation of coolant around the engine. So let's get cracking and replace the thermostat. So we'll start by removing top hose and this heater hose from the other side of the thermostat housing. Quick shot of WD-40 to help the rubber come off. Remove the radiator bracket. Right, so just remove that one there, that just gives it enough clearance. So now here comes the acid test, because this is what's frightening me now, undoing these. Let's see if they're going to come or not. They've been soaking for 2 days with WD-40 and penetration. Oh, that's tight. Oh, that's tight as well. Oh, they're all rock solid. Right, before I do anything else now, I think I'm going to put a bit of heat on them. Move a little bit. I'm just trying to take it a little bit at a time, back and forwards. I think I've got it. Just work it back and forward. I don't want this to snap. Oh, this one seems to be releasing easier than the other one. There we go, another rather nasty rusty bolt. 2 down, 1 to go. Last one, here we go. moment of truth, it's out. Oh my gosh, look at that for a thermostat. And that is what the head looks like. So that was the plug-in sensor that I broke, unfortunately, so that's a costly error. But the good news is it's off without any bolts sheared off, so that is a top result. Just have a look at this. Just wondering now, even if I put a new thermostat in there, in those tight waterways, could they be blocked? I don't know. Let's get it cleaned out, and let's get a new thermostat in and get it all cleaned up. So I've just separated the thermostat cover from the sandwich plate. Inside of there looks pretty clean, whereas inside of that bit is completely opposite. So let's get all that cleaned up, get that old thermostat out of there and get all this housing cleaned up. So a couple of the bolts that have come out, these are the worst ones. Before I commit to buying new, I'll try and refurb these and see what they come up like. So there are the bolts cleaned up, a bit pitted and a bit marked, but the threads all look good. So I think we'll be reusing those. Just get the old gasket off the thermostat housing. The internal of that housing looks fine. I think it's got frozen with all the muck at the sandwich plate level, and you can tell there's been not much muck circulating above this. We'll scrape this off with a Stanley blade. Round file through the holes just to clear the rust out. Right. So that's the housing, thermostat housing cleaned up. That looks nice and flat. I do like the old British Leyland logo on the casting there. Nice touch. And next comes the sandwich plate with the thermostat buried inside, and that's my expensive mistake of snapping the fan sensor in the housing, but I've not got one to replace that yet. So a bit of penetrating fluid. Look at that.
of an hour scratching later, that has come out of that. Right, now we can try and knock out the thermostat. Doesn't look too bad on that top side, but absolutely annihilated underneath. So as much as I want to restore and renovate as much of the original as possible, clean up the inside surface of this sandwich plate, I don't know whether that's picking up on the camera or not, but that has just been absolutely corroded and eaten away such that it's broke through into the stud hole there. So that is never going to seal. So unfortunately I'm going to have to get a new one of those, which will then in turn force me to replace the sensor that I broke, and that's not cheap either, unfortunately. But we can only renovate what we can renovate when it's too far gone. Now all the rust and crud's been cleaned up, that's just useless now, unfortunately.
Okay, so a couple of days later, and one rather expensive order to mini spares, and we've got some new bits to put on. Okay, so we've got replacement sandwich plate, new thermostat, gaskets for those, refurbished thermostat housing, refurbished bolts, and the replacement heater sensor that I snapped off when I removed the head. So let's get those on. So I've cleaned up the face of the cylinder head with a sharp blade just to get the gasket off, and now I'm just going to give it a quick clean with a bit of wet and dry. There we go. Okay, let's get things reassembled. So new gaskets, the black face goes down towards the cylinder head. New sandwich plate. New thermostat. Well, this bracket's getting in the way now. Right, take that off. Okay. The new gaskets. Cleaned up original thermostat housing. And the cleaned up bolts, and I put some copper grease on those to hopefully prevent them from seizing should they need to come out in the future. So they've all had a smear of copper grease. Okay, get the hoses back on. radiator bracket back on. And you can see where the bracket is shaped now, that sits nicely onside that thermostat. Right, get the top hose back on. So the only thing left now is just to put the auxiliary fan sensor back into that hole there. But since I've put this pipe on, it might prove to be a little bit tricky, so I'll just obviously might have to take the top hose back off to put that on. I'll just give it a try. So I thought the best way of just nipping up that sensor is just to feed that 5/8 spanner through the lead, and I can get the full ring on there, and then it's got less chance of slipping then when you tighten up than it has with an open end. So that's just nipped up nicely now. So we're getting closer. Another quick top up. Right, that's everything done. Time to start her up, bring it to temperature and see what happens. Rad's hot, pipe's hot, thermostat's hot, but looks like that's cured the problem. And I think I've just got a slight leak coming out from that gasket there, so I might have to just resettle that. So more progress. That looks like it's all looking good. There appears to be a slight leak on the thermostat housing, might say new bits and new gaskets. Might be just bedding in. I didn't put any gasket sealant, blue Hylamar, on the gaskets. Maybe I should have done. Anyway, I'll whip those off, just give them a quick clean, a quick check, smear a gasket sealant and reassemble that. But certainly the radiator coolant got hot, the radiator got hot, the top hose is hot and circulating, so clearly the thermostat's now working. I will drop now, I'll give it another test run. I'll drop the coolant and then refill it with some more new stuff, just to flush out any detritus that's in there. So brilliant, good news, another step forward. So what's next? I suppose before I give it a road test, I'm going to have to make sure that the braking system and the suspension's okay-ish, at least to be safe enough to give it a test drive on the road. So that's my next job. Quick assessment of the brakes, steering, suspension, and then hopefully give it a road test. So onwards and upwards.